Brought to you by Patterson Legal Group. They're the good guys. And by Jacobs Liquor Exchange. Here's the voice of the Shockers, Mike Kennedy.
Show, pleasure to have you with us. The Shockers come off 2 straight wins, both by 19 points last week at home, and start a new week 17-4 on the year, 7-2 in the American Athletic Conference at the halfway point in the conference schedule. I want to mention quickly before we bring in the coach that there will not be a women's coaches show with Keitha Adams tonight because they are traveling. They are either on their way or now in Greenville, North Carolina, where they will play ECU tomorrow night, and they will be going for their 6th consecutive win. So great role that they're on. Absolutely. Double-figure win over Memphis on Saturday. Cesaria Ambrosio, who had a career-high 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, is on the American Conference honor roll this week in the announcements today. But no coaches show tonight because of the travel, and then we will not be here next week. There are no coaches shows next week as the men's team will be traveling on Monday next week to Memphis for the next game down there. But Coach Marshall joins us, and certainly a much different feel than when we did this show a week ago. And beyond just winning a couple of games, how much better do you feel about the way you played this past week?
I thought we played very well. I thought we got some good contributions from a lot of different players. We'll get into all the individuals, but in Houston a week ago Saturday, we didn't have any good contributions. We didn't have any guys that really played well. But this week, guys really started to put their games together, and we've still got guys that need to play a little better. But that's just could be growth if everyone stays the way they were when they were playing well, and we add a few guys that aren't playing up to their capabilities. You know, that could be really good come February.
And at this time last week, I know that you had committed to a rough week of practice. It was time to get their attention again. But one of the things about building a program and building a culture is that your guys expected it. They knew it was necessary. They knew it was for all the right reasons. And I know you felt like they responded very well.
Yeah, I think they were just as mad or disappointed or upset with the things that had transpired, especially at Houston. Again, I just thought we didn't compete against them, but here we are talking about it again, Mike. Here we go. We win 2 games, and all you want to do is talk about the week before.
It's the transition from.
Yeah, I know how you do that. We just didn't play well at Houston. SMU played a tremendous game, in particular, Shake Milton, but you got to compete, and that's what we got back to competing. And when shots go in, you compete and rebound and defend that way. You're going to beat a lot of people.
There are a lot of things we can talk about as far as the positives of the 2 games this past week, but if there was a moment that typified, I think, what this team is all about, what this program is all about, it was yesterday after Austin Reeves had strung all those threes together and Tulsa called timeout, and the reaction of his teammates. I was afraid he was going to get hurt the way they mobbed him, and they were so excited and happy for him, and it really showed how these guys feel about each other and how they truly are together as a team.
I believe that's the case that permeates through the entire organization, but in particular, Austin Reeves is a very good teammate. I mean, everybody loves Austin Reeves, and he's always there to support his teammates, and he cares about his teammates. It's very obvious. He plays so hard with that body. He puts his body on the line, a lot of times taking charges and diving for loose balls. And he's got the bad shoulders. He's got the slight build. But he's a tough kid, and we knew he could do that. We had seen it in practice, but to go out and make 7 threes in a row and really be on the way to an incredible night. But he cooled off in the second half and late in the first half. But that shooting exhibition that he put on is the best in Coke Arena history, I heard. So, I once saw as an assistant coach a guy make 15 threes in a game. I was thank goodness he was on my team. But I was at Marshall University, and Keith Veeney made 15 threes in a ball game. So that was quite a shooting for me, 7, it was just, that's nothing. I've seen 15. But no, I was happy for Austin, and his parents were there to watch, and he just played beautiful.
Just for the record at Wichita State is 9 by Jason Perez in a single game, and then Joe Ragland and Maurice Evans both made 8 threes in a game, and then yesterday, Austin tied Terrell Benton for the 4th most with 7. 7 1/2 is a Wichita State record, and as far as anybody can remember, 7 in a row is a record. I certainly don't remember anyone, even with those extended numbers, making that many in a row. The only performance I can remember seeing in this building that was anything similar, and it wasn't so much consecutive, but just where they were from. But Andrew Gattelot from Charleston against you in the NIT a few years.
Well, if you add his distance, I mean, some of those were from 40 feet. I mean, he was really shooting them for a long way out. I do remember Joe Ragland. I believe it was against UNLV. And that was a game in which we had specifically done a different ball screen coverage because UNLV's ball screen action was so good, and they tried to get to the middle of the floor. So we were icing the ball screens. And we did it for 3 days. And I think it was Coach Jans that had the scouting report, and we just kept emphasizing, you do not let him get to the middle of the floor. So the very first possession of the defense for us, Joey Ragland lets a guy get to the middle. He creates, he dumps it off for a guy for a dunk, and I took him out of the game. And you know, before I could even get to him, Jans was already in his grill. So he sat there for a while, and he knew that he had not done what we asked him to do, and he was really mad. And so he goes back in the game, and I think he scored 31 points on 11 shots that night and had 8 threes. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Is that close to being accurate?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, Joe is the only player still, since Gregg Marshall has been here 11 years, that has scored 30 or more. Actually, twice. Clanthony Early and Joe Ragland, the only players that have scored 30 in a game twice in this program since you've been here. So.
And I saw Joe's mom in Houston at the game, so she came up and we talked afterwards.
Well, I mentioned Cesario Ambrosio's on the American Conference honor roll this week. So is Shaquille Morris. He averaged 19.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds last week, made over 70% of his shots. Gary Clark of Cincinnati was the player of the week. He averaged like 19 and double-figure rebounds, or 9.5 rebounds per game. But Shaq was certainly in the conversation, and beyond just the numbers, I thought he played with as much energy yesterday in all phases of the game as maybe we've seen him play with here.
He definitely did. He was tremendous. He's gotten a little better the last few weeks on going to the offensive glass. He had gotten totally away from going to the offensive glass, and we tried to emphasize to him, even if you don't get the rebound, someone has to box you out. So then it's a numbers game oftentimes at the basket. So we like to send 3 guys, and we weren't doing that. So he's gotten better about that. I think he had 3 follow dunks on offensive rebounds amongst his outstanding performance. But, you know, yesterday was the Coaches versus Cancer game. And we made a big deal of letting them know why we were wearing the ties and the tennis shoes. And all the coaches that participate in that, for the first time, they're going to actually, we signed our tie and we signed our shoes, and it's on a website somewhere, but Coaches versus Cancer, that people are buying that stuff from all the coaches that participated. So, but what I told the team, and Steve Dickey, our character coach, talked to the team about before we went out is, you know, this is just not Coaches versus Cancer. This is players versus cancer. Who in this room hasn't been affected either prior, currently, with cancer? And no one, everybody raises their hand. So 0 people in that room had no experience with cancer, and so we said, you guys be the players versus cancer. And Samaje lost his mom, and Richard's mom battled breast cancer successfully. And Steve Dickey's wife battled breast cancer, and then Shaq's mom is going through cancer right now. So it's really something that made a obvious mark with Shaquille Morris, and it was great to see him honor his mother in her fight by playing that way, and hopefully he can continue to do that throughout the course of the year.
You know, the thing you just mentioned about the offensive boards, in addition to those follow dunks, I can remember at least 2 balls that he kept alive, one that he almost tipped in that you ended up getting as a team. He didn't get credit for it. I know Richard got at least one of them. Seemed like he got everything that Shaq did yesterday.
The 2 of those guys on the glass, they just dominated inside around the basket. And If Shaq wasn't dunking it in, Richard was getting rebounds yesterday in crowds with people knocking into his arms, and those are big boy rebounds that you're going to have to get as this season progresses and into the NCAA tournament.
And it was close yesterday. We're talking about firsts and all that kind of thing. Certainly there have been a few rare triple-doubles in the history of this program. Fred VanVleet had at least one, maybe a couple. But I am pretty sure that I have not seen a player have a rebounds, assists, double-double. And Richard almost had one yesterday. He had 11 rebounds and 8 assists. Had the 8 assists with still about 6 minutes to go, and then didn't get another one. Just wasn't an opportunity. And that's the second time this year he's had 8 assists in a game.
He's come very close to being like a point forward. And what we mean by that is he can actually handle the ball well enough in the middle of the floor. So many teams are playing a zone, and that's where you want to attack. Against that 3-2 zone, you want to attack right in the middle of the lane, like where the valley used to be written in our lane. There's no verbiage in the lane now, but right, it's more towards the foul line than the basket. That's generally the area that's open. And against the 3-2, you've got the corners. And you notice how many threes we had in the corners that were open, because there's only 2 guys on that back line. And if Shaq or Rono or Darryl sitting in on one of the guys, that occupies him. That leaves one guy to get corner to corner. That's very difficult to do. So we're getting the ball to Richard, and he is a better passer than he is a shooter. We all know that. He has recognized that now, and he takes the 15, 17-foot wide open shot, and he drives it to the basket. But other than that, he's trying to create for his teammates.
All right, we will continue with Coach Marshall. The Shockers at 17-4, and we'll continue our discussion on our Monday Night Coaches Show.
It has the power to soften the blow. Break the ice. And melt your heart. A healthy smile is a powerful thing. It deserves Delta Dental, the nation's leading dental benefits provider. Learn more about our individual and family plans at deltadentalks.com.
Hi, I'm Gregg Marshall, coach of the Wichita State Shockers men's basketball team, and I'm here to talk to you about Dillon's. Now, I know a thing or two about committing yourself to excellence. That's why I love Dillon's. Because the Dillon's team is committed to high-quality food, low prices, and the kind of friendly service that makes you feel right at home. So next time you're having a party or a tailgate to cheer on the team, stop by Dillon's for your favorite food and drinks. Go Shockers! Great food, low prices at Dillon's.
Have you checked the pancake?
Pancakes.
And what about the pancake?
Pancakes and pancakes.
And the pancakes?
Yeah, we're pancakes, sir.
Well, that sounds flippin' pancakes to me.
Yes, it does.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are cleared for pancakes. They're $3.99, all you can eat for a limited time.
Perfect.
$3.99, all you can eat pancakes at IHOP.
Founded in 1919, Lewis Street Glass is a 4th-generation family business that got its start installing and replacing automotive glass. In these times of cut-rate, no-warranty competition from industry giants, we remain true to our long-standing policy of fair pricing and total customer satisfaction. With service professionals who specialize in automotive work, we offer all types of auto glass services, including door mechanical repairs as well as glass restoration work on classic cars. Lewis Street Glass, where we're proud to be Kansas's oldest glass shop.
Stagecoach! It's the Patterson Legal Group. Someone's gonna pay.
Our client's been in a car wreck. Where's the insurance guy?
It's time to pay our client for damages.
They deserve more. There's lots of pain and suffering.
You really don't want to see us in court, so pay it all now.
Hurt in a car wreck?
Call the good guys. We're Tyler
and Gary, the Patterson Legal Group.
Call 550-0000.
Welcome back to the Gregg Marshall Show. Wichita State coming off 2 19-point wins at home last week over UCF and Tulsa, sweeping the season series with Tulsa. Just one game this week at Temple on Thursday night, which we will talk about later. But in talking about the all-around performance of the team, certainly some really productive minutes in the last couple of games. Darrell Willis, 27 points in 39 minutes the last 2 games, 7 of 8 from the field yesterday. And maybe a little less noticed, Rano Nerger has had 12 rebounds in 30 minutes of play in the last 2 games.
I thought Darrell was just about unstoppable towards the end of the game. He was in foul trouble early in the game. The second foul I disagreed with. He was the first to the floor for a loose ball. There happened to be a Tulsa player that was kind of loitering around a loose ball, and that's when you get your knees taken out. And when Darrell dove, the kid fell. But to me, that's a play on. You should have been the first guy on the floor, then you don't get tripped. But so he had a bad call. He gave him 2 fouls, and then he just didn't get a chance, really. We had Shaq in there. We had Rano in there. But, boy, at the end of the game, he was unbelievable. He was almost unstoppable. So as hard to guard inside as Austin was in the first half on the outside. And then Rano Nerger, he's going and getting the ball now, finally, with 2 hands, aggressively, the way a 6'10" guy should rebound. It appears to be really important to him finally, and I'm ashamed that it's taken this long, but he's obviously very, very talented in doing that. He looks great pursuing the ball now.
I wanted to bring up and just ask you about this. Over the last 3 games, Landry Shamet and Connor Frankamp are a combined 3 for 30 from 3. Now, we all know they're outstanding shooters. And what I was going to ask you was, when you have guys like that, as long as you know they're in the gym, they're doing the extra shooting, doing whatever they can to work on it, do you just try to be encouraging? Is it better sometimes not to say too much? Does it just depend on the individual sometimes?
Well, with those 2 guys, I don't care if they're in the gym or, watching the movies over at the Warren Theater. I mean, I'm going to let them shoot when they get an opportunity. I've seen it enough. It's not like all of a sudden they're not making it so they can't shoot, and I'm going to give them a yellow light. That's not the way it works.
And certainly, I know that they have, Landry came out after the game Thursday night and shot extra, was out early yesterday, and you got to believe it's going to come back much sooner than later with those 2 guys.
Last of my concerns. I got a lot of things to worry about. That's one that I don't.
And the thing that we mentioned last night on the post-game show, when you have them contributing very little offensively in terms of points, and you score 90 and win by 19, it's really a testament to your depth and just the number of guys who can pick up the slack. Exactly,
and the way I look at it is if they do get hot in one of these games coming up, and we can continue what we've got going with Shaq and Rano and Darrell and Austin, and you just named 4 or 5 guys that really played great and scored the ball well in that last game. Then we win by 29 or 39 instead of 19.
Also, we've talked about Austin's shooting yesterday, and I've mentioned this before, but in the first 12 games, he had 17 assists and 17 turnovers. In the last 9, 5-1, 29 assists, 6 turnovers, and Connor and Landry are 2 of the top 3 in the history of the program in assist to turnover. Fred Van Vliet's the only other one up there in between them. So that is turning into, once again, after maybe a little slower start this year, a really positive kind of number for you.
Oh, those guys, the whole team. Not just them, but the whole team passes the ball. Yesterday were 27 assists and 9 turnovers, which is 3-1. And I dare just go through some stat sheets. Go to ESPN.com. Go to box score on every game that was played over the weekend, and try to find a team that was 3-1 assist to turnover for the team. Now that's a good point guard number, but generally big guys have negative assist to turnover. So when you figure those guys in, they travel or whatever, and kind of like we've done on certain games, especially Houston, Marcus travels or loses the ball on the right sideline. I think Darrell traveled 3 times. So you have to factor those things in for a team to be 3 for 1. I think it's extraordinarily rare.
And we'll talk about the assists again in just a little bit, but I've been waiting for this number. I had to find this.
Are you going high tech on me?
Well, Coach asked me yesterday. Yesterday was the 700th all-time win.
And you had to look it up?
He asked me if I'd been there for just about all of them. I have seen at least 483 of those 700 wins. I have described, according to Brian Holmgren, I've described 441 of them since 1980-81.
So is that yours and Holmgren's like walkie-talkie there?
Yeah,
what do you got going? I haven't noticed
I had to figure it out. So.
So you've had him working on it feverishly all day.
Well, thank you for your contribution to that number, because it's been pretty amazing in the time that you've been here.
Yeah, how many is that? How many did you look to go further?
Well, it's
this is my 11th year, so
just in the last the last 8 years, we've lost like 7 home games. So it's a lot of wins in the last few years.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, it's been. Coke Arena is a special place, obviously, and yesterday. Hey, I want to talk about that. All right, so someone challenged me today. They said, man, your pregame deal that you guys have is really starting to be really cool. And I go, what are you talking about? They said, well, the light thing. So, you know what I mean?
No idea.
Before we introduce our team, they have that little show with the lights and the music and whatnot. And it is getting very, very good. It's getting better, but I still got to coach the fans up, okay? Because I know. I mean, we could make it unbelievably cool if every single person brought out their phone. And what do you think? 98% of the people in there have a cell phone.
Yeah, I would think
okay, very few of them have the flip phone. So if you have a smartphone, you can do the app. There's an app that makes your phone kind of white the whole time, or even easier than that is just put on your light, the flashlight deal, and all you gotta do is kind of do this for like 45 seconds. Everybody can do that. All right, so if everybody, there you go, Joe. Yeah, 45 seconds, everyone. And then the people that are beside you say, hey, I was at Coach Marshall's radio show, I heard him talking about, he would like for you to turn on your phone, because it's starting to be really cool, and we can do a little better job. If we got 6 people abstained, okay? They're just, they don't want to run down their battery, or they've already lost their battery. I got that. But if we could get 10,500 people doing that, that would be pretty cool.
And I have to make an admission here, all that he's just talking about. I have a flashlight app on my phone, and one of these days, I don't know how many games it's going to take, I will remember to turn it on so I can see the lineups on my paper when they turn the lights out. I keep forgetting. So we will be back to the Gregg Marshall Show right after this.
Come from all over the world to shop at Jacob Liquor Exchange.
Ooh la la, look at the selection. One for every occasion. Oui, c'est magnifique.
You've got to be kidding. We don't have this much scotch in all of Scotland.
You have more vodka than the Kremlin. When I want beer, this is where I get her done.
Jacob Liquor Exchange has the largest selection of beer, wine, and spirits in Wichita. We're right on the way and right on the price. Jacob Liquor Exchange.
I'm Coach Gregg Marshall. Getting an award means you've achieved something exceptional. So when I tell you that Welch's Heating and Air offers award-winning service with a 96% satisfaction rating, what that means is Welch's will do an exceptional job in taking care of your family's comfort needs. I should know, as I rely on Welch's to take care of my family's comfort needs. Call Welch's Heating and Air, your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning customer care dealer at 733-1600.
So you want to join the popular RV movement? Why not try it before you buy it at Ramsey's RV Rental in Augusta, Kansas? Ramsey's RV Rental has top-of-the-line towable travel trailers that sleep up to 8 for your next getaway, road trip, hunting trip, or tailgate. Small to large, toy haulers too. Many of Ramsey's RV units come equipped with state-of-the-art flat screens, kitchens, bathrooms, and more. Book online now at Ramsey'sRVRental.com, where you could say Ramsey's RV Rental has changed camping into glamping. Ramsey's RV Rental, 316-775-3637.
At Bell Mirror & Glass, we know our work reflects our family name, but we also know that what we do reflects on you.
For over 50 years now, Bell Mirror & Glass has created and installed nothing but the finest custom-made glass, mirrors, shower enclosures, and more for your family or business. Visit the gorgeous Bell Mirror & Glass showroom today.
And let what we do reflect on you.
Bell Mirror & Glass. For over 50 years, a reflection of perfection.
Your eyes eyes are often the first to capture important memories. Dress them for the occasion with a new pair of glasses from Howard's Optical. For nearly half a century, Howard's has given you the look you want and deserve. Ask about the ultimate lens package at any of their 4 locations in Wichita: Bradley Fair, Riverside, 13th and Mays Road, and their main store at 5405 East Central. Howard's Optical, a heritage of quality, service, and integrity. Visit howardsoptical.com. Proud supporter of Wichita State basketball. Go Shocks!
Welcome back to the Gregg Marshall Show, and I was going to bring this up, and then our friend John Markwell mentioned it. It's always good to talk about Shocker family on this show. For those of you who may not have been aware, of course, Fred VanVleet was really on a good roll. Had a stretch of about 6 games where he was playing a little more, averaging 11 a game. Then he gets a deep thigh contusion and misses a game or so. Since he's come back, 2 games ago, 18.5 minutes, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 of 9 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, and had 3 block shots. Did he have 3 block shots in his whole career at Wichita State?
I don't know what he's doing on the block shots, but I know the guy's really, really playing. I've seen some video of just, I mean, he's now conquered the three-point line in the NBA. He knows exactly where to be to receive the pass. He knows if he can get it off on the catch. He's gotten really good at using ball screens to shoot the 3. For a guy that, quote, unquote, could not shoot when we got him, he's now a really good NBA three-point shooter. We all know how he can get to the basket. If you've got to honor that type of deep range that he has now, he can get by people, finish with his right, finish with his left, the acrobatic moves that he used to do to get to the basket. And then his passing, I mean, that was the best part of his game. His ability to assist on other people's baskets and his toughness and defense. He's in their deep rotation. I mean, when I watch the Raptors now, if I can get a Raptors game, I'll try to watch it if I'm available. And that guy is playing valuable minutes. I mean, he's in at the end of the first half. He's not starting, but he's in at the end of the game when the game's on the line. And he's a free agent this coming year. So he's about to get really paid, which is good because he became a father, yesterday when he put up those numbers for the first time. He's a first-time father, and everybody's doing well. We've been checking on him, so we're excited for the Van Vliet clan.
Yesterday, came off the bench in the second quarter, scored 12 points in 8 minutes, and finished with 25, a new career high. So it just keeps getting better, but nobody more deserving. Nobody has ever worked harder. You mentioned the shooting thing. When I first saw him, when he first got here, just watching him in practice and shoot-arounds, I thought, okay, you can see the point guard stuff. He's probably just going to be a very average at best shooter. But even through his freshman year, you started seeing the shot look better and better, and that's not that common for a guy to fix his shot that much.
It wasn't broken. It's just it wasn't a beautiful shot. I mean, he kind of spun it up there a little bit as a freshman. But I became a believer going back to that play against Gonzaga when it's less than a minute to go and that ball bounces over towards our bench, and I'm hoping somebody can save it because it's our possession. And I think we were up 3 or 4, somewhere like that, with like 45 seconds to go. And when he got it, took one dribble and launched it from 30 feet right in front of me, and then turns around and winks at me while holding his follow-through, and the thing splashes in, and then I turn to my staff and I go, we're going to win this game. And when you got a freshman doing those things as confidently as he did it, there was no doubt we were going to win the game.
Well, congratulations to Fred. I know everybody here is so happy for his success, and certainly it looks like it will continue for some time. One of the numbers that I mentioned earlier in the show, or not this show, but a week or so ago, has just continued to escalate. Wichita State's bench has now outscored 20 of its 21 opponents. The only one that it did not was a 4-point edge for UConn in the game up there. They have outscored their opponent's bench by at least 7 points in 17 of 21 games. Yesterday was ridiculous, 51-4. It's the 8th time that they've outscored the opposing bench by 25 or more this season, and the average is almost 16.5 a game. That's the best ever, and you've had some deep benches in this program.
Yeah, we had a deep bench when we won the NIT in 11. I remember we had 2 different groups of 5 that we could bring in at any time. And now, if you quiz me on all 10 of those guys right now, I might not be able to come up with it. But I don't know who to start, honestly. We have, we've got so many guys that their competition at the position is really close. But what I think is the most unbelievable, and Austin Reeves touched on this earlier, you mentioned it earlier in the show, is the guys that compete for time, like Austin and Connor, and Zach Brown and Marcus McDuffie, or Darrell Willis and Ron Nerger. Those guys are pulling for the other guy as much as anyone. And whether they're great actors or just, they just want to blend in and say, hey, I'm really a team first guy, is debatable. But if they are actors, they're really good at it because, it's all about the other guy, whoever's on the floor. And it could be your competition or it could be the deep reserves. But, man, they're really into the success of each and every one of their teammates.
Well, and part of that, I think, goes back to the tone of the program and the coaching. Nobody's ever buried in this program. And we've tried to emphasize to listeners that practice is much more important than people may realize sometimes. Certainly it's important how you play in games, but you see them every day in practice. And if guys are competing in practice and getting better, correcting things, they're going to get a chance when the opportunity presents itself. Then it's up to them to take advantage of it.
Yeah, well, exactly. You have to give guys like C.J. Kaiser, okay, this is your game. Roderick Brown, who's redshirting this year. Today's practice is your game. You got to show us what you can do. And how then in my mind, I've got to based on today's practice, how much I could play you, and if I did play you, if we could win or not. Those are decisions that are made now in practice for next year and the year after. So it is very important. But I want to go back to what you said. No one is ever buried in this program. Why do you say that?
That everybody always has an opportunity to win playing time.
As long as you're on the team.
Yeah, and haven't just gone away from everything you're being taught and so forth. As long as you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to have an opportunity, even if you're the 12th or 13th man, right?
If you're on the team, you have an opportunity to perform, to play. And if you don't perform like you want to play, then you probably wouldn't be on the team. So it just goes in a circle. These guys, and I would like to honor the guys that are on the deep reserves. Those guys, we haven't been able to play them as much this year. We used to be able to get them in the first half, okay? There were times when we could get those guys in literally in the first half or early in the second half. But now, with the competition and the American Athletic Conference, it's difficult. We haven't had a blowout in a while. 19 points back to back, but it's not 39. It's not 30 at half. So those days are gone, it seems, and we just got to. I would love to play those guys more, but we just got to continue to work to get better. But they're working in practice. They're working because their day will come, hopefully, sooner rather than later.
And the other thing, also, is if guys had 2 or 3 bad games in a row, as long as he's showing you in practice that he's working to correct those things and listening and making the improvements, he may not play as many minutes the next time he gets in, but he's going to get the chance.
Yeah, I think, I think that's a difference from being a coach and a fan. A fan sees game night. We practiced 2 or 3 times more than we play games, and I'm at every one. We also have individual workouts. We have the summer stuff. We have a pretty good grasp of what these guys can do, and it's not always based on game night. It's based on all the information and data that we can gather during those practices and individual workouts about whether guys are ready and can handle the moment.
All right. And I wanted to touch on a couple of other stats, the NCAA stats out today. The Shockers are third in the nation in rebounding margin. They've out-rebounded 20 of 21 opponents, 12 of 21 by double figures. That's always been a strength of this program. And I know there have been times early in the year when you weren't that totally happy with the way you were rebounding, but it's really become a strength.
Yeah, it's got to be a strength. I mean, what do we shoot from the field? Roughly 46%? 48? Okay. That means we miss 52. 52% of the shots that we take on the offensive end, more than half are obtainable for a guy that really works on the offensive glass. And on the defensive glass, nothing irks me more than a great possession. We contest the shot. It's a difficult two-point shot, and then somebody neglects to check out and we don't secure the basketball. So we work on that, and that's what we emphasize. And we emphasize taking care of the basketball, hence you can get the 27 assists, 9 turnover days. We turn the ball over a little too much with this team, but we're still a work in progress with that. And I tell the big guys, stop taking chances. Don't take chances. We don't need that. We can manufacture a shot in 30 seconds with all the talent that we can put out there.
I talked about the assists. The Shockers are third in the nation in assists, just over 19 per game. They've had 22 or more 8 times now, including yesterday's 27. 5 of the top 6 single-game assist totals in Coach Marshall's 11-year tenure have come this season. And Dave Dahl pointed out yesterday, it's not just the guards. Yesterday, the big guys had more than half of the assists in yesterday's game.
Yeah, we mentioned Mark Richard with 8. I thought Brown was good. I think he had 5 assists.
Yep, he did.
Did Machine Gun Kelly get an assist?
He did, I think so.
I mean, Machine Gun Willis. How about Shaq?
Shaq had 1, I think.
Okay. Well, if we can get those guys giving it up every once in a while. No, I think our big guys are very talented and skilled passers. They just, again, don't take chances. Don't make chancy plays, because we can manufacture a shot if we just don't turn it over.
Coach mentioned the turnovers. That's coming down. The Shockers are down to 12 a game, 59th in the nation. It's been well over 100th somewhere. And, you know, this is the other thing. The raw scoring defense number is not one of your best, 69 points per game, but scoring went up 6 points per game in college basketball last year. I looked this up, and I'm sure it's up some again. I couldn't find it anywhere. But your scoring, you're 25th in the nation in scoring. Your scoring margin's almost 14.5 a game. That's 10th in the nation. So maybe your opponents are scoring a little more just in terms of raw points, but so are you, and you're still winning by very big margins on the average.
Well, we have a lot of talented players that can put the ball in the basket. Darrell Willis told me that when we were in Canada a couple summers ago, that when I told him we were giving up 80 points a game to the Canadian teams, and we were just abysmal on defense. And I said, if you give up 80 points a game, you're not going to win. And Darrell goes, Coach, we can score 80 points a game. And sure enough, like last year, we did it like 20-something times. But, college basketball scoring is up, and this is a team that's very talented. And sometimes, you know, it's not a perfect world. I mean, if every one of these guys was a great defender and a great offensive player, I would have the easiest job in the world. But unfortunately, they're not. And sometimes you have guys that are a little better on the offensive end, and we don't get to call timeout every time there's a rebound or a change of possession. You got some guys that are better on the defensive end. And we just have to get those guys in the game as much as they can, and you've got to accentuate their positive and try to mask their deficiency.
And one of the reasons scoring is up, there was a major emphasis last year with officiating to really emphasize that freedom of movement and that sort of thing. And there are more fouls being called and that sort of thing. But I thought, and maybe it was just me, I felt like watching that game yesterday that game was a little more physical, that they let them play a little more than maybe typical. And I thought your guys really played through contact well a number of times yesterday.
I thought the Houston game was extraordinarily physical, and we did not respond well. But Houston gets a lot of credit for that. I thought yesterday's game was a little physical. You're getting high-level officials in these games that we're having in the American Athletic Conference. at least one, if not two sometimes, and three occasionally have all worked Final Fours. They're working your games, and they're all successful in their own right. So, you know, they make bad calls every once in a while, but by and large, they're pretty good. And in our first year, I've been very pleased with the officiating. Not every game, but very pleased overall as a whole with the officiating.
We will continue with Coach Marshall. Temple coming up on Thursday. First meeting with the Owls this year. We'll talk about them right after this.
As a coach, I know numbers are important. Ultimately, everything we do will be judged objectively by a score and a record. Great teams produce great results. When it comes to home health care, Serenity Home Health is not only the hometown team, they are the champs. Medicare has awarded Serenity Home Health a near perfect quality score of 4.5 out of 5 stars, putting them among the very best in the nation. I trust Serenity Home Health, and you should too. Call 866-2929 to set up a free consultation.
I love Carlos O'Kelly's queso.
Man, that's what I'm gonna miss most about Wichita.
Oh, why the ref's taking our food?
Whoa, we didn't double dip.
Looks like we won't be going to the monitor for this one. Carlos O'Kelly's queso is for everyone.
So how many quesos? 36. Got it.
You don't have to be a Shocker legend to love Carlos O'Kelly's queso.
Ever wonder what's in a beer? If it's a Bud Light, it's 4 essential ingredients: barley, rice, water, and hops. Here's to the beer you can always count on, brewed to be America's favorite light lager.
Winning takes hard work, commitment, and accountability. I'm Wichita State coach Gregg Marshall, and I believe in challenging our team, like switching leagues. And so does the hometown team at All Angles Collision Repair. They're in a league of their own, the very best. All Angles has the right people, processes, and prompt service, providing state-of-the-art collision repair with 100% customer satisfaction. All Angles, the winning team in auto body repair.
All Angles!
Hello, Shocker Nation. This is Cindy Carnahan with the Carnahan Group at J.P. Wygand & Sons. For the past 40 years, the Carnahan Group has been helping the great people of Wichita buy and sell homes, helping with first home purchases, patio homes, and everything in between. Whether you are trading up or paring down, we want you to call on us. Let us put our vast experience, our robust marketing, and our proven systems to work for you. Whether big or small, our service is the same. I promise.
Welcome back to the Gregg Marshall Show. I'm not sure I mentioned the Shockers are 16th in both polls today, so they moved up 1 in AP, stayed the same in the coaches' polls. Cincinnati, number 8 in both polls, and Houston receiving votes in both, and Shocker opponent Oklahoma, number 12 and number 15. In the power rankings, Ken Pomeroy has the Shockers at 19. They've moved up a few spots from where they were last week. Interestingly, Jeff Sagarin, that had the Shockers a little lower than Pomeroy early, has them at number 11, and they are number 9 in the ESPN BPI. This week's opponent, Temple, is kind of in the mid-80s. Pretty good considering they're 11-10 on the year and 3-6 in the conference. They're kind of a hard team to figure, except that well-coached and certainly a team that's very dangerous on any given night.
Well, when you look at their schedule in the non-conference, it's one of the toughest in the country, and they beat Auburn, who I think is something like 17-2. That was Auburn's only loss until about a week ago when they lost at Alabama. They beat Clemson, who has 3 or 4 losses, and both are getting top 25 or in the top 25. They beat South Carolina, who's a kind of a bubble type team. And they beat one other high major, and I don't remember who that one was, but it was somebody like Nebraska, who's having a good year, by the way. So they won 4 of those games. They lost to Drexel But Houston lost to Drexel in a tournament early in the year, and Drexel's coached by my first graduate assistant at Winthrop, Zach Spiker. So happy for Zach. And he's in his second year at Drexel and turning that program around with some big wins. But I'm telling you, this team, Temple, has talent. And, they got off to a tough start. 0-5 to start league play, but they've already played Cincinnati twice. And basically everyone in the league, hopefully other than us, is 0-2 when they play Cincinnati, because that's a dynamite team. I've watched them just enough scouting these other teams to go, wow, they really get after. You're talking about playing angry and defending and having talent to score. Gary Clark was a player of the week this week, so they've got a really good team. I think Temple they beat UConn this weekend. They've won three of their last four. Yep. And beaten some good teams. They beat Tulsa, they beat UConn, and I think the game they lost was to Cincinnati.
Yeah, and they beat UConn badly, 85-57 last night. So seemed to be getting the feel a little bit. Fran Dunphy is a Philadelphia guy, LaSalle graduate. He was at Penn for 17 years. Now he's been at Temple for 12 years, replacing John Chaney, who was there for 24. He's had 7 20-win seasons, 7 NCAA tournament teams in 11 years. Had a 500-year last year, but they were just in the NCAA 2 years ago. So certainly there is some, not just history, and we all know about, remember Guy Rogers and guys like that going way back, but there's very good recent history with that program.
Temple is a wonderful basketball school. When you think about basketball, you think about John Chaney and now what Fran Dunphy's done, and that's been the coaches the last 30-something years. Pros, wins in the NCAA tournament, deep runs. John Chaney played the 1-3-1. Fran Dunphy's more man-to-man, but the guy does nothing but win. He's got over 500 wins between Penn and Temple, and he's a great guy. Big time, you'd love him. Philadelphia Phillies fan. I mean, he's a Philly dude, as you mentioned. He went to LaSalle, but you just never know. I mean, they haven't put it all together, and we want them to wait because we play them twice now late in the season like we do Cincinnati. We don't want them to put it together because they're very skilled and talented.
You have played them one time, and that was a heck of a game. Played them in Puerto Rico 6 years ago and ended up losing an overtime game by 4 points.
Yeah, they had a foreign guard, if I recall. I can't remember his name, but the point guard. And Teray Murray took a bad shot down the stretch, and we were up most of the game. But they beat us, and was that 12? Was that 11-12?
Yeah,
okay,
coming off the NIT year,
that was the first year that we got to the NCAA tournament. So at least it didn't hurt us that badly other than our seeding. But Pepe Sanchez.
Yeah,
Pepe Sanchez was the guard. And it was a game that I thought we were going to win the game. And they were hanging in, and then they made 2 or 3 plays down the stretch because of the veteran coach, and they beat us.
Style-wise, their numbers are similar to what we saw with UCF. They don't score a lot of points, but they don't give up very many. They don't turn it over much, don't force a lot of turnovers, and interestingly, they do not get to the free throw line very much. Last 2 years, they've been in the 340s out of 351 in free throw attempts and made. So it seems to be a pretty deliberate, slower style.
Solid man-to-man defense. I mean, they're just going to guard you. Kind of the way we do this year. We're not forcing as many turnovers either, but they really guard you. They try to create a tough contested jump shot. They've got some size. They've got talented guards. They've got a 6'8" kid, Rose. Is it Rose?
Yeah.
And he's tremendous. I mean, I've seen him make jumper after jumper after jumper and then go down the lane and dunk it like a freight train. So the Brown is their point guard. They've got a kid, I can't pronounce his name, that is a senior that shoots it and scores about 11 points a game. Their rookie, Pierre Louis, last week was like the rookie of the week in the league, and he had big numbers. So I just know Fran Dunphy can coach. I know that they're going to be prepared. They're going to sniff out everything that we try to do, and we're just going to have to go and out-compete them and make more shots.
I have to mention one name. If you were going to start a college basketball all-name team, this would be a great league to start. How about Taco Fall, Shake Milton, and for Temple, Shiz Alston Jr., who's averaging about 13 points a game.
Didn't even mention Shiz. Shiz averages 13 a game. I mean, the guy can play. That's who they put on the floor on a nightly basis, and we're going obviously to their place first. I've never played a game in Philadelphia, so I'm looking forward to that. And I think we've got a big group of boosters going up on the private plane, and guys and people in the coaches club. So we just need to play well. Usually when we have a big group like that, our team plays really well.
You know, one thing that I will mention, I have only been to Philadelphia one time in my life, and that was on the volleyball trip this last fall. But you know about Eagles fans and Phillies fans. You just saw what Philadelphia was like after the Eagles got to the Super Bowl. And in the volleyball match, they maybe had 800 to 1,000 there, but they were pounding on the plastic seats. They had the band. Philly fans are aggressive, and it's going to be, I'm sure, a live atmosphere in that place on Thursday night.
No doubt. And as you probably know, they'll have about twice the normal fan capacity that they have. The Shockers are like we're not the best team in the country right now. We're not playing like the best team in the country, but there's a novelty about us. People want to see, first of all, maybe the Woo Shock. They want to see the mascot. What does that mean? But now everybody wants to check us out.
Well, yeah, we filled arenas in the Valley, and now we're doing it in the American. East Carolina had by far their biggest crowd. P.J. Cousinard told us that was Houston's biggest crowd in 8 or 10 years, probably the other day. So
and UConn.
Yeah, they filled up a 15,000-seat arena pretty much, and they're averaging about 5. So it'll be a large hostile crowd at the Licoris Center, but I think your guys actually kind of enjoy having some atmosphere like that as opposed to a dead building when they play.
Yeah, they do. And Tulsa, that was the other one where we had more than 50% of the fans down in Tulsa the other night.
To that.
Yeah, so I hope. We didn't respond very well in Houston, but I hope that was the abnormal Shocker performance based on what we've done the last 7-8 years on the road. It probably will be.
This is kind of a unique situation. We mentioned after the game, you said you can't remember if this has ever happened before, or certainly the last time, but no game this weekend. And so you'll play Thursday night at Temple, and the next game's the following Tuesday at Memphis. And there are some unusual quirks in this schedule with kind of an unbalanced schedule in this league.
Yes, so some teams have played 9 games, some teams have played 7 games in the league, which is really strange to me. We'll have there's 1 week coming up in February, middle of February, where we play 3 games in 7 days. So it's gonna push us at certain times. But in 33 years as a coach, this is my 34th year as a coach, I think. No, 33rd. I don't remember ever having a Friday, Saturday, Sunday off in basketball season, and it wasn't the holidays. This is completely unusual and rare. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm sure Lynn has some plans for the weekend, but it's going to be strange.
It is 2 teams, Thursday and Tuesday, that you haven't played yet, so there is some benefit in having a little more time to do that first-time preparation.
A lot of prep. We played Temple twice and just Memphis once. Coach O'Cone is on his game. We're staying at the Peabody Hotel.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and I'm gonna. Yeah, you didn't know that. Yeah. I'm gonna make the boys sit there and watch the ducks leave and waddle out to the street and cross the street and then come back and through the water. It's gonna be fun.
I'm excited. So, all right. Well, thank you all for coming. Thanks for joining us. And we will be back in 2 weeks. Again, no coaches show next week because of the travel to Memphis. So we'll be back in 2 weeks with the next Gregg Marshall Show. Next game, Thursday night at Temple. Tip-off 6 o'clock Central Time. Shockers go in at 17-4. Thanks for being with us on our weekly Coaches Show.
Now Contour from Cox gets you right to the strange stuff.